In my previous post, I have discussed the possible causes of the massacres in Punjab at the time of partition in 1947. However, one of the reasons for partition was an abrupt division, an unexpected division, also known as the Radcliffe Award, about the Punjab. And now I am quoting from a book, Politics in Punjab 1919 to 1958, and the main title of the book is From Martial Law to Martial Law by Syed Nur Ahmed. It is edited by the scholar Craig Baxter. On page 245 of the said book, chapter 45, it starts like that and it's a bit long, but I find it somewhat interesting and captivating. Mountbatten's Award with Radcliffe's pen. After arriving in Delhi on June the 18, 1947, Radcliffe remained there for a few days. Then he travelled to Calcutta and back to Delhi. He visited Lahore for the first time on July the 13th. It soon became apparent what has been whispered in his ear during this period. After arriving in Lahore, he worked out the details of procedure with members of his commission. He told Justice Dean Muhammad, whom the other members of the commission had unanimously given the title vice chairman, that he wanted to fly over a particular area the next day. The area was Madhupur headworks in the Pathankot Tehsil and the adjacent areas of Gurdaspur and Batala Tehsils and Amritsar district. Radcliffe, who had the use of the Viceroy's aircraft, wanted Dean Muhammad to come along. Dean Muhammad was unable to go, as he had been advised by his doctors to avoid air travel. In his place, Justice Munir arrived at the airport, but the trip was cancelled, the reason being given as inclement weather. Both Dean Muhammad and Munir, who had judicial training, became quite suspicious. So far, the parties concerned had not yet filed their claims. They would do so on July the 18th. And no one knew on what areas differences would arise which would require the Commission to render a decision. What then could be the reason for Radcliffe taking an interest in a particular area at this time? The two judges came to the same conclusion. Someone has tried to influence Radcliffe about the points in the case even before the Commission met, and Radcliffe had prior knowledge of some points even before he heard both sides. He was not thus acting as a judge should be, with an unbiased and impartial mind. The two also felt that this should be brought to the notice of Jinnah, and if the Muslim members of the Commission resigned, it would bring to light the maneuvers of Mountbatten behind the curtain. No one but Mountbatten could have caused Radcliffe to take so early an interest in this area. Dean Muhammad went to Delhi and met Jinnah and offered the resignations of both Muslim judges. Jinnah, however, said that in his opinion it would not be correct to place charges of impartiality on Radcliffe only on the basis of what has happened so far. The two Muslim judges bowed to Jinnah's advice and resumed their work. Radcliffe's premature interest should be judged in the context of other events. It would then be apparent that even before the approval of the June 3, 1947 plan, Mountbatten had connived with Nehru that instead of placing all of the Gurdaspur district in Pakistan, a decision should be given that the district would be divided in such a way that at least Pathankot Tehsil would go to India. Pathankot had a special geographic significance in that its tip abutted the territory of Jammu and Kashmir. In this Tehsil were parts of India, the Indian frontier, which would meet that of the princely state of Kashmir and give India a route to enter the state. No other link was possible as the remainder of the state's boundary was with solidly Muslim Punjab districts of Sialkot, Gujarat, Jhelum, and Rawalpindi. There was no way anybody could place those districts in India. In Gurdaspur district as a whole, the Muslims were in a majority, but in Pathankot Tehsil, the Hindus predominated. Thus, there was some reason to detach this Tehsil and place it in India. There were also two other geographical factors. The key to the canals flowing from the Ravi River, the Madhupur headwork, was in this Tehsil. Furthermore, if Pathankot Tehsil went to East Punjab, and as expected Amritsar district also, there would be a geographic excuse for placing two more tehsils of Gurdaspur district, that is Batala and Gurdaspur in East Punjab, as this would preserve the communication links, roads and rail between Amritsar and Pathankot. But the main importance of Pathankot was Kashmir. Mountbatten had already given a hint of this on June the 4th, 1947. According to the list of districts of Punjab, under which the pass of the assembly would vote on partition, there were 17 Muslim majority districts, including Gurdaspur, and 13 non-Muslim. In his radio address on the evening of June 3, 1947, Mountbatten said it was almost certain that the final boundary line would not be the same as the temporary division. This did not sound harmful or objectionable. However, speaking the following day at a press conference, he clarified his remark with reference to Gurdaspur district, pointing out the near balance in that district between Muslims and non-Muslims, and suggesting that it was unlikely that the whole district would go to Pakistan. Mountbatten said the figures showed a difference between Muslims and non-Muslims of only 0.8%. The figures Mountbatten quoted were thoroughly incorrect. The accurate figures, which everyone accepted later and came from the census report, were Muslims 51.14%, non-Muslims 48.86%, a difference of 2.28%, not 0.8%. Beside this, the main point was that a majority is a majority in all cases, no matter whether it is large or small. The June 3, 1947 plan and the Memorandum of Instruction to the Boundary Commission sanctioned only Muslim majority. It did not specify the size of the majority. That Mountbatten gave his opinion on Gurdaspur in advance clearly showed that he wanted the district divided. It was at this particular point that Radcliffe had taken premature interest. This was also the area over which he wanted to fly. Dean Muhammad and Munir both knew the importance of this point, and they were intrigued by the Radcliffe's action. But what they did not know was that the persons pursuing the Muslim League case were offering to India on a silver platter the very thing, Pathankot Tehsil and Kashmir, that the two judges have been trying to save. The responsibility for pleading the League's case was that of the Provincial League leaders. The Muslim judges were astounded to read the memorandum placed before the Commission. In the document, the stand was taken that it would be wrong to use the district as a unit through which to determine the boundary. It strongly urged that Tehsil be used. Then the Tehsil should be altered in accordance with other factors. Using this principle, they declared in clear terms that Pathankot Tehsil should be part of East Punjab, while Firozpur and Zira Tehsil of Firozpur district and Nakudar and Jalandhar Tehsil of the Jalandhar district should go to Pakistan. For practical purpose, the result of this logic was that the position of Pathankot Tehsil was determined with unanimity even before the Commission declared its award. The only question now was whether other factors might place the Tehsil in Pakistan. In short, Pathankot was handed to India as a gift in exchange for the slim hope of other gains, but very thin in case of the two Jalandhar districts. Sometimes, after reading the memorandum of the Punjab Muslim League, Dean Muhammad met Chaudhry Sir Zafarullah Khan by chance at a social function. The Chaudhry was pleading the Pakistan's case before the Commission. He took Chaudhry Sahib aside and called his attention to the strange manner in which the League claims had been put. Zafrullah replied that he was appointed as an attorney. The drafting of the League's demand was the League's job. The job of an attorney was to advocate the position of his client. Who had delegated the responsibility for setting the demands, and to whom? Locally, it was the responsibility of Nawab Mamdod, the president of the Punjab Muslim League, to look after the works of the party. Was the decision that League should agree to the division of Gurdaspur district so that it could press for the division of Firozpur district taken by the Nawab so that the Mamdod estates might come under Pakistan. In order to obtain the ascension of the state of Jammu and Kashmir, India must control Pathankot. Secondly, Maharaja Hari Singh of Jammu and Kashmir must come under the influence of India when he made his decision to accede to one or the two new states. When Radcliffe Commission began its hearing, the Indians were assured that the first condition would be met, whether it came from the Mountbatten's intervention or from the reading of the Punjab Muslim League Memorandum. The Indians began effort to win over the Maharaja in July, when Kiripalani, the Congress president, went to Srinagar. In August, Gandhi visited. The question of putting these emissaries to the trouble of journeying would not arise unless there was an assurance on the first question. On July 21, Mountbatten himself arrived in Srinagar and stayed 3 days. In this period, he was strongly urging the rulers of the states that in view of constitutional changes taking place, they should accede as quickly as possible before the date of partition to the dominion of their choice. Although Mountbatten would name both dominions, his practical efforts were to maximize the numbers joining India. Towards this end, he employed his grand personality and all the tricks he knew. He did not hesitate from threatening the rulers and their ministers. He had gone to Kashmir to give the same advice to that ruler, but was it advice to join Pakistan? Jinnah gained this impression from Mountbatten. In Srinagar, Mountbatten had several meetings with the Maharaja, but on his return to Delhi, he told Jinnah that they had discussed only generalities. The last day had been set aside for a talk about ascension, but the Maharaja had fallen ill and the meeting did not take place. Mountbatten's story sounded fishy, but Jinnah remained silent. What had Mountbatten actually said to Maharaja? What impression had he conveyed, and what had he derived from the prince? And was the decision to send Gandhi to Srinagar based on something Mountbatten had learned? On the other hand, the Indians were sending their topmost personality to Kashmir. However, the two rival parties, only two for all practical purposes, the Congress and the Sikhs, were working hand in hand, were presenting their demands to the Radcliffe Commission. One interesting aspect of the debate was that during the entire time of the hearing, Radcliffe did not sit with the groups even a single day, and the two parties debated the question between themselves. Probably Radcliffe knew beforehand what his award would be. The debate was finished in Lahore by the end of July. Later, Radcliffe gathered the members of the commission in Shimla and asked them to compile their reports on the basis of the argument presented by the attorneys and let him have the report within 4 days. On the basis of these reports, he discussed the question with each member individually. When Munir tried to discuss Firozpur and Zira tehsils, Radcliffe told him categorically that the two tehsils were being placed in West Punjab, that is Pakistan. Radcliffe wanted to do some justice to Pakistan by dividing Firozpur district and awarding two of the tehsils to Pakistan on the same ground on which he would divide Gurdaspur district and give three tehsils, that is Gurdaspur, Pathankot and Batala, to India. Information about this decision was sent to Mamdod along with congratulation. Even Liaquat Ali Khan was given the good news that the award as a whole was not much different from the June 3 plan. If one or two tehsils were taken from Pakistan's share in Gurdaspur, it would in return be compensated by two from Firozpur, thus coming about even. Deen Muhammad tried once again to bring to the attention of Jinnah that most of the Gurdaspur would be lost. He should do whatever he could to save it for Pakistan. This was the time when Jinnah, Liaquat Ali and other leaders of Pakistan were in Karachi preparing for the Independence Day and trying to set up offices for the new government. Deen Muhammad could only meet Liaquat. After listening, Liaquat said that Pakistan would probably get something in return for Gurdaspur. Deen Muhammad said he felt that this too would be denied. It was possible that Liaquat was uninformed about the special significance of Pathankot Tehsil. Anyway, this was not the time to raise the questions about the tip of the tail when the whole elephant of Pakistan had waded through the dangerous flood and had safely reached the shore. Perhaps Liaquat also thought that the future of Kashmir did not hang only on the fate of the Pathankot Tehsil. Mountbatten received Radcliffe Award on August 9 but withheld publication until August 17. Later it became known that the original award had shown Zira and Firozpur Tehsils as part of West Punjab, that's Pakistan, but the award was altered between 9th and the 17th, and the two Tehsils were placed in East Punjab, India. Owing to an oversight, this file was left in a cabinet containing secret papers at Government House in Lahore. Thus, it came to the notice of Sir Francis Moody, the first governor of West Punjab, that is Pakistan, who showed it to Jinnah. The foil contained a memorandum written by hand by Governor Jenkins, which showed clearly that on August the 8th, Jenkins had talked by telephone with Sir George Abel. During this conversation, Jenkins wanted to know whether Radcliffe Award was finalized and if so, what it was. Jenkins needed this information as early as possible in order to make his own administrative arrangement. Abel told him that the Viceroy has not yet received a copy, but he would be able to inform Jenkins as soon as he could see Radcliffe himself or the members of his staff. Later the same day, Abel called Jenkins with the final outline. Jenkins made a map on the basis of what Abel told him, and the map was also in the file. It showed Zira and Firozpur Tehsils in Pakistan. The date, August the 8th, is important. If Mountbatten received the award on the morning of August the 9th, then it means that the document must have been completed by August the 8th at the latest, and that the information given by Abel to Jenkins was presumably correct. It was clear that neither Radcliffe nor any member of his staff would have informed Abel before the award was finalized. The award, published on August the 17th, showed Firozpur and Zira as part of East Punjab, India. What other meaning can be placed on this alteration other that there was a collusion between Mountbatten and Radcliffe, and it was a joint dishonesty? This passage basically must be understood that a lot of killings which occurred at the eve of partition in Punjab were in these districts which were expected to be in Pakistan and at the last moment were put in India, leading to the massacres and so on. I must say that at the time of partition, a lot of refugees came from both the Punjab and also other parts of India to Pakistan. Those coming from Punjab, there were very frequent reports of entire trains being cut down on the way by the hordes of the opposite religion. And it appears from the chronology that the troubles mostly started from these areas, or at least they became more widespread after these areas which were handed at the last moment to India, which were supposed to be in Pakistan. And during the early years of Pakistan, almost every respectable family was raising up an orphan from India. Some of them had their parents killed in front of them, and they had nobody to look after. It is quite common among the respectable families of Punjab to raise these children, these boys and girls, and I personally have seen many of these children who were rendered orphan, not to talk of 40,000 Muslim women which disappeared. And it is sad that no compensation was really made in earnest for the people who got affected from both sides of the border in these riots. So this is one of the saddest chapters for the people of the subcontinent, which basically shows that they could not solve any issue by themselves. They were dependent on others, and large sections of the population did resort to very uncivilized behavior. With this, I end this, and I hope you have enjoyed, which is not a source of enjoyment, but you have understood the delicate things which occurred just prior to partition, which were not all that okay, in the sense that they were not done judiciously. And obviously this means that two tehsils of Indian Punjab lawfully belonged or belong to West Punjab in Pakistan. Thank you very much for your patience.